Hi, in this Graphman tutorial, we're going to create a custom Graphman query using Postman. We're also going to use the diff command to validate the difference between different sets of configuration. Let's take a look at our gateway configuration. I've got a number of APIs here, and these services are including policies and rules that are included under this bootstrappable framework here. I've got some utilities in there, including global policies. Policies also have dependencies on things that are not under the folder structure, like this private key. I've got some JDBC connections. I've got some things like stored passwords. All right, let's switch to Postman here. I've got that collection that came with Graphman Client, and I've got my own collection here called config as code. So I'm going to start with the sample policy fragments, get policy fragments from a folder, right? And I'm going to copy this here and change the name. I'm going to call this my framework. This is my starting point. I want to package everything that all the policies under that folder. So I copy this in the sample, it points to /demo. We need to actually point this to /bootstrappable framework. That's the root of the folder. So we start here and you can see the policies being included here. Now that doesn't include the dependencies of the policies. So in order to get that, I'm gonna go look at another sample here called policy and dependencies, right? So I'm gonna go inside the create bundle query, and there's the all dependencies here. I'm just going to copy this and bring this back into my framework query. And I'm going to do something here where I'm not going to get all the dependencies. I'm actually going to cut out these policy fragments. They don't necessarily hurt, but I happen to know that all my policies are organized under that folder structure. So this is just redundant. So to be cleaner, I'm going to keep those out, but all these other dependencies for each of the policy fragments are going to be in there. So I can try the query here. You can see now we're getting some cluster properties back as part of that query. So I also happen to know that I want to include things like my global policies. I'm going to add this to my query. I want to include scheduled tasks. I'm also going to add this to my framework query. And then finally, the last thing is the background tasks policies that goes with those scheduled tasks. I'm actually going to add this to my query, get all of them, and keep it simple. And then the last thing I'm going to tweak here is I'm going to copy this dependencies declaration for these policy fragments. I'm going to add this to the global policy because global policies might have dependencies in there. I don't want to leave anything behind. I'm going to do the same thing with the background tasks policies. A quick test to make sure that everything works good. I'm going to take that entire GraphQL I just composed and put it in my clipboard, and in back in my tooling, this is the folder where all the queries are. I can just create a file. I'm going to call it myframework.graphql, GQL. And I'm just going to paste that query from Postman straight in there, right? And then I need the wrapper JSON for that query. So same name, myframework.json. And I never remember the format here, so I'm just going to copy from another JSON file here. And I'm going to substitute the name of the my framework GraphQL, and then the name of the variables. Again, I can do the same thing, copy that directly from Postman. These are the variables that go in here. It's just the root of the folder for what I'm trying to bundle. So I can now export that. If I go back to the README, here's the command to do an export. Now I'm going to do an export using the my framework command, and I'm going to save that under my framework.json. So I can look at what I'm getting back here. I've got all the things that I think I need based on that custom query, but we can do some additional analysis. Let's run a query for the entire configuration of the gateway, and now we can use the diff command to look at the difference and see what we're leaving behind. So I'm just going to do a difference between all and my framework, and I'm going to put that in an output called what's left. And I can, to make it easier to visually inspect, I can do an explode of what's left at JSON. That's going to create a folder structure under what's left, and let's take a look there. You can see, so I've got a cluster property. Yeah, I happen to know that these don't belong in my framework. I don't want my admin user. I don't want the default SSL key. This is a secret that's not used. And these APIs I want to leave out. So that's perfect. That's what I was looking for. I've got my new my framework query that's incorporated in my tooling. And so we can do the same explode for the output of the my framework query to validate the configuration that we got in there. So now I've got my resulting framework configuration. I can take this directory, check that in directly into Git, and this is my starting point for my configuration as code for that framework configuration. I hope this was helpful. Thanks for watching.